Okay, so I had someone bring this topic up to my attention on Instagram, and I thought that it'd be a great topic to cover because I don't think I've covered it at all. If you want to check out my Instagram down below, I've also got it in the description, so yeah, check that out. But this topic today in this video is going to be about something that is a very long-winded and dry debate that's been going on and will probably go on for a very long time. It is about electric cars versus fuel/gasoline vehicles. Now, this topic is probably going to annoy some people, so I'm not sorry if it does. But it's going to be a hard topic to cover because, as I said, it's very controversial. So let's just jump right into it. Okay, so fuel or gas vehicles. I'm just going to generalize here because I understand that before you jump down my throat or punch the computer screen or do whatever it is you do to assert dominance, I understand that there's a multitude of avenues in which fuel and gasoline vehicles travel down. Okay, and I understand that different vehicles have different outputs. I get that, but I'm going to generalize. It's not something that I like to do, but it's something that needs to happen. In terms of making this video as short and concise as possible. So yeah, this part, generalization. Next part, probably going to be a generalization as well. Maybe not as much, just because electric vehicles are electric vehicles. Yeah, there's that. So the pros and cons of a fuel/gasoline vehicle. There's not a lot of pros that come with it. Besides personal performance, if you want a vehicle that is just faster, maybe quicker pickup, as they do have, fuel and gasoline vehicles typically have a faster pickup, then yeah, go for it. Grab a fuel or gasoline vehicle. But who cares? Like, in all honesty, a faster pickup, great. You can vroom vroom faster down the highway. Sick. That was it for the pros. Faster pickup. Basically, any personal speed, expenditure, anything personal on the vehicle, fuel and gasoline is probably your best bet if you want a personal boost, I guess, to your ego. Grab that vehicle. The cons. This one that you guys probably already know and probably know what I'm about to talk about. And yeah, I'm just going to get right into it. Tailpipe emissions. This one comes to no surprise. See, tailpipe emissions produce one of the worst emissions for climate change. And that is CO2. Carbon dioxide accounts for 60% of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere and is probably one of the worst, if not the worst, type of emission that we could put, or human-induced emission would be a better word, to put back into the atmosphere. But tailpipe emissions don't only just cause CO2, okay? They also cause nitrogen oxide, hydrocarbons, sulfur dioxide, particulate matter, and ozone pollution. Now, ozone pollution is a little bit of a tricky one because it's a combination or a fusion of two different emissions, nitrogen oxide and volatile organic compounds. I don't know why I struggled saying that, but it's those two mixing together upon combustion, creating O3 or ozone. According to the Environmental Protection Agency, the US alone accounts for 1.7 billion tons of CO2 pumped into the atmosphere annually. The EPA have also stated that a single fuel/gas vehicle will produce roughly 404 grams of CO2 per mile traveled. That will equate to 4.6 metric tons of carbon dioxide pumped into the atmosphere annually. That's about, for comparison, about 4,600 kilograms of CO2. Put that in perspective, you're feeding the earth this fatty food, making her fat. That was a crap analogy.
Are you stupid or something?
Fuel is bloody expensive. This is because it's constantly on the hike and it's always in high demand. It's also primarily because the cost of crude oil is so great in the global energy market, making the overall cost of fuel rather expensive. Maintenance is rather expensive. Now, this one, there's a lot of variables, okay? I get it. But on average, it's about $400 to $500 per service. That's annually, right? Compare that to an electric vehicle. Electric vehicles are roughly $1,200 per 3 years. But as I said, it depends on the vehicle and it depends on the manufacturer. So it's kind of hard to chuck that into a cons, but I put it in there just because on average it is $400 to $500 annually, which can seem expensive to most people. Alrighty, electric vehicles. This is the one that we want to talk about mainly. And this is the one where a lot of people seem to get stressed about, or they seem to debate the topic a lot. So yeah, this is where I come in. So an electric vehicle, as the name suggests, it uses electricity, right? And it can either be an off-source, such as plug-in, or it could be an internal self-contained battery generated from solar energy or from an inbuilt generator. Now, electric vehicles are typically supposed to be a renewable source of energy compared to the fuel or gasoline type of vehicle that you see roaming the streets now. This is where people get stuck, okay? Electricity and renewable in the same sentence is kind of a iffy topic, right? But I'm just going to cover that now and hopefully clear up a few things. The pros of an electric vehicle. One is that it is very energy efficient. What I mean by that is that an electric vehicle will convert roughly 74 to 95% of its energy into the movement of the vehicle. Compare that to the fuel side, or the fuel and gasoline side, then you convert roughly 17 to 21% of the fuel into the movement of the vehicle. This means that you only need approximately half as much energy in an electric vehicle to drive the same distance as a fuel or gasoline vehicle. Pro number 2, the one that everyone's talking about, reduced emissions. Electric vehicles do not produce tailpipe emissions. I'm just going to put that there. They produce zero carbon from tailpipe emissions. They're also able to grab their fuel domestically. And what I mean by this, through being energy efficient, is that they can use renewable resources such as wind power or potentially solar power to power or recharge the vehicle. Therefore, if we compare the two vehicle types, electric vehicles produce zero tailpipe emissions, whereas a fuel or gasoline vehicle will produce roughly 404 grams of CO2 per mile driven. It's already a winning debate. There isn't a lot of research that definitively states how much CO2 a electric vehicle produces in terms of definitive evidence, primarily because they haven't been around for that long, and each vehicle and manufacturer differs by how they get their resources, as well as each country differs by how often these vehicles are rolled out. But what I can say is they're 100% better than fuel or gasoline vehicles, by far, no debate. The cons. They're not 100% renewable. You're probably confused, right? Because I said that they don't produce as much emissions, but now they're not 100% renewable. Hear me out. The vehicles themselves are a great alternative to fuel and gasoline, okay? But how they source their electricity is different. So these vehicles can source their electricity from non-renewables. So from a power point, fossil fuels, any type of electricity that isn't non-renewable, you can source your vehicle from. It's a lot easier to plug it into a power point. Okay, it's just simpler. But the thing is, you can't use that as a shield for your debate, because you can charge these vehicles domestically from renewable resources. So by saying that electric vehicles are not a great alternative to fuel or gasoline is a dumb statement. Very, very stupid statement. The manufacturing of the battery also produces CO2. In fact, it's been estimated that on average it produces 9 metric tons of CO2 per battery made. But this is a one-time thing. Once the battery is made and installed, that's it. Okay, it doesn't produce any more CO2. Whereas a fuel and gasoline vehicle produces CO2 throughout its entire lifetime, as well as a metric ton of other toxic chemicals, as I stated previously. So yes, they're not 100% renewable, okay? But they are far greater at mitigating the effects of CO2 and the stress on the atmosphere from us. They're also quite expensive. So the initial price of a electric vehicle is rather expensive, but it is on the decline slightly. Still a decline, still kind of expensive, but it's declining. The battery packs have also been stated to be quite expensive, and this will depend on the manufacturer as well as the lifetime of the vehicle as to how often you have to switch over these batteries. But in all, you've got an expensive vehicle with maybe an unreliable battery pack. So, you know, as I said, manufacturer-wise as well as country-wise, how well these are rolled out and how well they're upkept and maintained is just, it's like any vehicle. You know, treat it right and you'll be fine. Alrighty then. So in conclusion, electric vehicles are not a 100% renewable energy source. However, they're still far greater than fuel or gasoline vehicles. That's a no-brainer. That's a no debate, okay? But what I can say is that although these vehicles do still produce a fair amount of CO2 through the manufacturing process, once manufactured, they'll produce very little CO2 throughout their lifetime. Whereas once a fuel or gasoline vehicle is manufactured, it's going to produce CO2 throughout its entire lifetime, as well as several other toxic chemicals. If we can produce a electric vehicle that is run off or manufactured from renewable resources, we will produce a third of the CO2 produced from fuel and gasoline. This is where we need to get to if we're going to see a difference in the amount of carbon dioxide that we are pumping into the atmosphere and its effects on the atmospheric carbon cycle, as well as the environment in which we are destroying to this day because we are in a climate crisis. Electric vehicles, still far greater. Anyway, I hope you liked that video. Make sure you leave a like, make sure you comment, and make sure you subscribe. Share it around because that truly helps me out and it gets people interested, and it means I hit a wider audience, because the goal of this channel is just to help you guys, just to educate, to teach, to explain, to help understand potentially. You know, if I can help one of you, then I can help all of you. That's all that matters in this channel. I don't give a crap about anything else. So yeah, make sure you educate, don't eradicate. Like, comment, subscribe down below. Check out Cape Class, an awesome company. The link will be down below. All my socials down below. Check them all out. I'm just selling myself out at this point. I'll see you guys next week for another video, and catch you later.